by my wife Kathy, and certainly she's honored to be here as well. But to look around and see so many friends, colleagues, distinguished guests, it's a privilege actually for all of us to be here. I'd like to thank the U.S. Global Business Forum, particularly the founder and chairman Kevin Call, the leadership team for hosting this event and contributing to the advances in international investment and trade. Like Kevin mentioned, he had a very short time to put this together. He did it pretty much on his own, as far as I know, was able to, put all of this classy event together in a very short time. This is a great community. I'm honored to be able to be here among you tonight. And when I think about what America is all about and the American dream, people, and all of us are immigrants at some form. My parents came to this country a year before I was born from Ireland. So I have a commitment and a sensitivity, I think, to the difficulties people face when they come to this country from across the world. But you look and you think that if you work hard, you treat people with dignity and respect, and you get an education, you can do anything you want in this country. And we see that this community is an exemplar of what can be done. Very successful, and a community that looks to give back every opportunity they can. So I thank you very much for that. I want to thank those members of the military who are here tonight. Some in uniform, some who've served previously who aren't uniformed tonight. But the military are what keeps us free. They act on our behalf and our interests abroad. When we rely and we take for granted the freedoms that we have, it's because of the American military working with military members from around the world and our allied nations to be able to keep us all safe. A tremendous amount of dedication and sacrifice, not only from the members of the military, but also from their families who worry about them every day. And when you think about it, we all think we have a feel for what the military is all about. But the reality is 1% of our population is on active duty in our military at any given time. That means that 99% of the rest of us rely on that 1% to ensure our safety across this world, ensuring freedom in all of our interests. Public safety officers who I'm here to represent tonight put their own lives at risk here at home to be able to make our lives and communities safer. They do it every day to keep us safe, to safeguard our communities from evolving threats. And every day we call upon them to respond quickly to emergencies, protect our loved ones, our neighbors, and our communities. And every day public safety officers answer that call without hesitation. Every day they carry out that vital mission to serve and protect. And we can only be reminded of that by seeing the news today where 2 San Diego officers were shot last night. One of them didn't make it. The other one is still struggling in critical condition. So our thoughts and prayers are with their families, the San Diego Police Department, and everybody who's focused on public safety. During my career, I've seen tremendous sacrifices that officers and their families are called upon to make. And in the shadows of Ferguson and Baltimore and our most recent tragic shootings across our nation and the national tragedy that we saw with the assault on the Dallas Police Department, I've also seen the consequences that accompany the loss of trust between our officers and the communities that we serve. And our business, our product is credibility, is trust. If we don't have that, we cannot possibly expect to do the job. There is a divide between our communities and law enforcement, and that divide is disconcerting, and it represents a growing and persistent challenge of lingering tensions between law enforcement leaders and community members. And that's something that's not local, it's national in scope, but affects people everywhere. So we have a great deal of work that must be done in an effort to increase support for the law enforcement community, to build trust between the officers and the community we serve, and to combat the misunderstanding and mistrust that some individuals bring to interactions with law enforcement, and that some officers may bring to interactions with certain communities. So it's a work in progress, but events like this tonight show the men and women of law enforcement, the military, and the fire service that the community cares, the community's behind them. And too often the silent majority who support us are too silent, and we only hear from those that are most vocal, most willing to get out there, but we continue to move forward on that. We have a number of challenges that we're facing here in California, in Southern California in particular. Crime, which went down for 14 years in a row, down to 50-year lows, has started to go the other way. The first part of that was good. The second part, we're now going up, unfortunately. The crime rate due to a number of different things, but some that we put on ourselves. Assembly Bill 109, which changed the dynamic of our prisons by changing the population from the state prison, the inmate population, to the local jurisdictions. It changed who's in our county jail in a way where it's much more violent for our people who are working there. Prop 47, which was sold as the Safe Streets and Schools Act, and we voted for it, 63% of the population, and we got it, but it's not that. And what we've done now is we've turned the tide on crime to a point where people are not being held accountable for crimes that they should be held. Possession of marijuana, cocaine, PCP, heroin, all of the hard drugs is now a misdemeanor rather than a felony. And then also the whole idea of treatment that was supposed to be the alternative to incarceration, that's not been funded. So we have people not incarcerated, not in treatment, but rather in our communities continuing to reoffend. So we need to step forward. We need to talk to our elected leaders, our representatives, and let them know how you feel that you want safe communities. In November, the governor has a couple of initiatives on the ballot, and those address, and I would ask you to look into those, because those address relieving more people out of the state prison system that will ultimately end up back on our streets again. So I won't advocate for either way on that, but I would ask you to take a good look at that. And then the challenges that we face, here at home and abroad with the counterterrorism issue, with ISIS, with Al-Qaeda, with Al-Shabaab, with our homegrown violent extremists, white supremacists, skinheads, and so many others that make our communities and make our world a very scary place at this time. That, coupled with cartels and gangs and what we're seeing with human trafficking, cybercrime, identity theft, and fraud, it's a lot of work going on your behalf, and you don't hear about most of it. But when you think about all of those things happening, you wonder, why are we having a problem recruiting? And we certainly are, and that's a pitch I'd like to make to all of you tonight, that if you know somebody, a young person, who's got a good background, who's sharp, who wants to help give back to the community, we need people from all of our diverse communities throughout Los Angeles County to be deputy sheriffs, to be employees of our department. You know people who would probably be great candidates. Please encourage them. If you need someone to talk to them, I'll talk to them. We can have recruiters talk to them. But really, to be able to serve the communities that we have the privilege to serve, it's great if we can have people from those communities be a part of that service as well. So as we move forward, we hope to be able to increase our numbers of populations from all of our communities. I know he's trying to keep the speeches short, but I had a lot I wanted to say tonight. When you think about how complex the job of a peace officer is in today's society, you think about it, we hire somebody in a baseline all the